What are your thoughts on the United Auto Workers strike, and what impact do you think it will have for the rest of the market?
It's long overdue. And with inflation being so high, the cost of everything going up 2x. I'm usually not pro strike, but I think if housing prices are going to remain this high, mortgages are going to remain this high, gas hit an all-time high, we need people that are employed need better pay. And I've been saying it for 2 or 3 years. Like, if you don't pay people a fair wage, they're going to revolt. See a revolt world this weekend. But if you don't pay people properly, how do you expect the economy to keep flourishing and to keep thriving? I think it's long overdue. I think we also seen with the writer's strike, at some point, musicians are going to need to strike as well. And I think creators are going to need to strike. It is going to affect the stock market. Of course, Ford, GM is going to be affected. Tesla won't have that much exposure. But the strike, if it goes on for 38 days, it will have an effect on the tech sector and consumer discretionary. But it is a necessary evil that has to be done. So even though it may drag down your portfolio, if we have this large gap between what people are making, but 7 companies are holding the market up and getting record profits. I'm not trying to sound like Bernie Sanders, but it's like you cannot have people in some cases paying $5,000 and $6,000 for rent, and then the pay has only increased 2% over the last 2 or 3 years. It's absolutely insane. We need a rebalancing of the portfolio at large for our companies and what employees are being paid.
Yeah, I think the main focus of the strike is they want more money and they want it to be equally distributed. You know, one of those things that the main focus of it is the compensation over a tiered platform, and that's something that we've seen in education. You see a lot of union jobs. You have new entry level people starting at a certain point, and they have to work, 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 years to even get to the top level of the salary. And then when people come in that have had veteran positions at other places, they start back at entry level. So yeah, it's unfair. But again, it's necessary. It's unprecedented. It's the first time that we've seen this union strike. The effects are sometimes long term, and so if we see a strike that goes 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, right, that's going to affect the automotive community, obviously, right? When we're talking about there's less workers, we're seeing some of the reaction from Ford. We saw today that they're letting people go. So yeah, there's people that are going on strike, but how long can they go on strike? I think that works in the favor of the automakers.
Yeah.
And so based on the fund, I think they have a strike fund that has about 142 million. They said that if every one of the employees goes on strike, they can last 3 months. 3 months.
3 months for Ford could be devastating, though. I mean, the stock hasn't done well in 14, 15 years, and even then it barely moved the needle. 90 days, and that's what I've always said. And so this conversation has been had in our community, like, what would happen to corporate America if all Black people just struck every company on earth for 90 days? It would have a drastic impact. Yeah. If they can hold out for 90 days, we'll definitely see some change.
Yeah, and the number is 825 million, right? So the number is 825 million, correct? But if every worker, so there's 146,000 workers, if they all walk out, again, it'll be depleted in 3 months. And so when you're talking about a fund or a company that has a market cap that's well over that,
yeah,
I mean, it's a tough proposition if you're employee or you're a worker at one of these companies, because their money's going to last a lot longer than yours.
20th, 2022, Ford was at $21.65. It is currently at $12.43. If the workers choose to strike for a quarter, may end up in the $6 range. That'll make some impact. And the truth is, like, if people and companies won't automatically increase pay or give some kind of incentives that you actually meet to get better pay, what alternative is there? Like, the writers had to go on strike, and we're seeing it, like, it affect TV shows. I really think musicians should be going on strike forever. I said it last week. Like, how does Burna Boy sell out MetLife, but his album only sells 21,000? It makes no sense.
Sells out MetLife, sells out Wembley Stadium, same thing.
Like, bro, but then he only does 21,000 actual sold albums when the tickets to go to the concert are 10 times more. Like, it makes no sense. I think we need reform. Once again, I hate to sound like Bernie Sanders, but we need, like, reform across almost every industry to pay better and give better incentives. And once again, we need to build some better companies. We'll talk about a couple IPOs later, but ARM, for it to be the darling that it is this year, it's one of the few companies that has built a product or project that is actually needed. I think too many of these companies and startups that have been funded over the last 7 years were almost like non-necessities or like a luxury. And as a result, like we keep building things that can get funded versus things that can actually have true value.